here's a fight scene. Okay, so we're getting into it a little bit. And look at this. You're getting it like into thumbnails here.
Wow.
What the
Oh,
hell?
that's a shame.
So here is a big rookie mistake here, right? You're starting out with
Oh,
3 panels on a page, right? And then really small panels. And this guy should have just made this comic like 5 more pages. That's what he should have done. And he's packing everything in, and it all ends right here. And to get it all in, he had to squinch it all in on the last page, and it shows. And here's his biggest action sequence. It's not even a third of a page. A guy getting plunged headlong into a wall. Segment.
you want to just go straight into that?
It doesn't have to be right away, but we could.
Well, this is
Yeah,
only a
we could
45
do it.
minute episode, so.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'll try not to.
But
Yeah,
I'll,
maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it in 2 parts.
okay. But yeah, so hey everybody. Welcome to another episode 27 of the making of Turbo Pit Fighter
Hello,
comic book.
everyone.
I'm Kurt Brugel, the anchor, story supporter, and I am joined
That's right.
by.
I'm Jake Jacobs. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer. I do the inks and the plotting, and I mean the inks. I do the pencils and the plotting, and I'm dreaming. I'm a big dreamer.
Yes, yes. And the reason Jake and I are doing this is that we want to join the crowd in having our own podcast and help in order to help promote what it is we're working on. And what we're working on is our own comic, and we're making it our own way. So, one of the things that we want to share with people is, process. There's certain things to be said about, having, the right tools and so on and so forth. But it just does very much seem like, it's a wide open territory now to tell your story in a comic book form, which at this point too is slowly becoming um, a big question mark of what's a comic book. But it's all very exciting. It's exciting to Jake and I, and we want you to share. So stay with us. As I was just saying, we try to keep these bite-sized, 45 minutes long, and we not only talk about the making of the physical comic book as we're drawing and inking with right here and now, but we share insight to the past and what kept us involved in comics, and then out there searching for stuff to keep us interested in comics. And Jake, you were just saying that you went to a
Yeah.
comic book show. Ooh,
Yes, Comic Con. The Comic Cons are very popular nowadays in people's local areas. The big New York City Comic Con is coming up in October, and a lot of people at the Comic Con yesterday were talking about it. The San Diego Comic Con just wrapped up a couple, like I don't know, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. That's a real big one. I don't know if there's any big
oh
regional
yeah, we got
ones
Baltimore.
by you,
Baltimore
but
Comic Con is a
this is
very,
where,
very sweet show. I've done it a couple of
yeah,
times.
yeah, you're right. So, yeah, so the one I was at yesterday was in Poughkeepsie. It's called the Mid-Hudson Comic Con, and it wasn't that big. Big civic center, and they had all these, booths and tables set up. Artist booths. There was maybe only like 10 or 12 artist booths. That's not a lot. There was dealers and vendors, right? So that's where I start tickling through the boxes trying to find some bargoons. And so I did pick up some scores yesterday. But I gotta say, this modern era, the average Comic Con attendee there was young, and there was even some, a lot of little kids there with their parents, and some really like, young teens and young 20 something.
Oh
And I
yeah,
could not
I
believe the
knew it was
amount
coming.
of cosplay there was there. And and
Comics.
and it was
Yep,
bigger
yep.
than it was bigger than the comic. Yeah. And another thing, like I know I sound like an old fuddy-duddy here, but the other thing that I just could not believe how big it is it's not just toys and collectibles, right? You see all those like action figures in their little plastic boxes, right, being sold, and Star Wars stuff and being traded. But help me out, Kurt. What are these little things? They look like little Lego people but there's like, booth after booth after booth of these little like collectible
Do they
like
have big heads? They have big
not
heads.
Lego people. They're
Yeah,
bigger than
yeah,
Lego people, but
something like
yes,
that.
yes, exactly. They're called POW, I think. They're called POW, and they have every character has a version of it, where it's just like two big dot eyes, and then, a cheap looking version of a costume, and they're in these plastic boxes, and then they have like every member of every band. So it's like, Angus Young from AC/DC, or you know, whatever, and
Yeah.
and there's just, booth after booth. I don't get it, man. I like they're not even, I don't even they're not even like movable. Like when I was a kid, I used to have, Stretch Armstrong and the Human Torch and the Thor and Planet of the Apes and the little action figures that you used to play with. And you play with your brothers and sisters, and you're like, hey, Thor beats Aquaman, like boom, boom, boom. But these are just like, I think they're just like Hello Kitty. They have big eyes. They just sit there in the box, and I don't think people open up the box. And I have no idea what one of these things was selling for, but they have taken over. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, it's a
Yeah,
good
but
point because I think the thing that had happened and where it's echoing through is when it started with Star Wars, the prequel films, and then when the MCU really started undulating. Um, our generation with and younger people having children want to share with their children. It's like going to a baseball game, but it's a whole family thing. It's not just the dad and
yeah,
son. It's now mommy and daddy were into He-Man and Star Wars. We're going to take little Johnny and Janie out there, and then and then they're there, and people are dressed. It's like Disneyland. It's all the things that we as comic book creators collected, endorsed, and collected and created. Um, and now it's being totally monetized. But you
commercialized.
can't kick it
Yeah,
because the shows that I've done, I almost break even on doing the whole show. And what I usually end up having are people who then engage, like, oh, dude, I remember Conan and old black and white bat magazines and blah, blah, blah. That's what I was always leaning into. But it was definitely all about, uh, parents bringing their children to be engaged in something that they grew up with, which, you can't really poo poo, but
no, it's fine. The next generation, yeah. So we saw a lot,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
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 nerds with kids, right? Is that what it? So they were there for us, and yeah. So I went around to all the dealers, and I was trying to sell some comics. I brought some volume of comics that I made, and then I was trying to buy some comics. And so here is my haul. I try not to spend too much. I think I spent about $60, and maybe I spent 80 including a T-shirt. I bought a T-shirt. And then you tack on parking and admission. So probably I was in for 100. But um, I found I found these Dynamite comics with this female all-star team, and it looks like they're taking all of the licensed characters, I'm sorry,
yeah,
the
yeah.
public domain characters, right? This is the Woman in Red, which was a pre Wonder Woman superhero, And they also have Vampirella and Red Sonja and Panther. So I think they got permission from Warren to use these characters and make new stories because it is good quality art inside. I saw, and there's story, right? But it's weird how they're taking these characters and they say there's like a roadmap inside of I looked at inside number one here. There's a roadmap inside number two. I bought these are only a buck a piece, so I bought two, three, four, five. Inside, it's pretty good art and story. Um, like I say, it's a little sparse for me. I keep saying it that the whole time. It's a lot, not enough action and a little sparse. But here's some action, some blood and guts. Um, and so yeah, this has a roadmap, and they're coming out every month with these characters. Look at this: Vampirella, Masquerade, and Kato. And I guess that's a female version of Kato. Dija Thoris, which is the girl from John Carter of Mars. Lady Zorro, Black Sparrow, Red Sonja, and Jungle Girl. And this is all new stories. Panther, Jane Porter, and look at this down here, Miss Fury and Lady Rawhide. So, I would say to creators out there, you have every right, just like these guys have the right, to use copyright-free characters, and there is going to come a day when Batman and Superman and Popeye are all copyright free too. But for now, you have to go back like I think like 100 years or something, or maybe like 80 years. And I think a dormant character that's copyright free, it's not only hasn't been around for a long time. It's dormant, but there's also no particular claim made by the previous estate of the creator, right? And I don't know.
Yeah, it also
Go ahead.
has to do with publishers too, because the publishers will also take a lot of times the half of the copyright, and so to keep things in control, copyright control, you have to maintain the printing of that character. So the character has to
Right, that's
be
me.
out there. Now, you as a creator has what's called an estate. So that estate then can control, but at the same time, it can get a little loosey goosey if your stuff is not being reprinted, because then it becomes this very gray area which you can get dragged into the courts. And if somebody wanted to argue that, you know, because there's also versions, that's another layer.
Right, a
You can
female, a
do, you
female
can,
version, right?
yeah. You just have to alter something. Seven has been the number that's been used, but if you make seven alterations to something, um, you can get, uh, uh, I won't say control, but you have your version of it. Now, the other things you have to be careful of, though, when you're getting out there messing with even what's referred to as public domain, is restrictions and trademark. So we do not want to play um, legal advice, because neither one of us is a practicing attorney or have even gone to law school. But yeah, I have experience having done Crom the Barbarian. And so I could do a whole episode just explaining what I have experienced, um, for that.
Yeah, there's definitely do's and don'ts. If you want legal headaches, make your own. If you don't want any legal headaches, steer clear. But if you see a character that is very old, like I heard like on January 1st of this year, like The Great Gatsby became copyright free. So anybody can make like a sequel to The Great Gatsby, or a comic of The Great Gatsby, or a movie of The Great Gatsby. Um, and so you got to go back to whatever, things were created a particular year, and whatever year that was. I think all those things are, go into public domain.
Well, Also find
But
something, also find something that you're passionate about. Just don't try to take something just because it's got some level of catchiness to it. Like I did Crom the Barbarian because I'm a very deeply passionate Conan fan. But I just have felt over the last 20 years, Conan has gone in a different direction from his original self, which was in the pulps. And so in my research, I literally went online 20 years ago and Googled um, was it sword and sorcery comic book character in the public domain, and boing, and I went from there. And so yeah, make it about your passion, and I think people will also get involved because there's a lot of people out there doing Crom the Barbarian. As a matter of fact, I have a Crom the Barbarian website, cromthebarbarian.com. There's a Facebook page, fan page, which that I have open to other people who are creators, and so you can kind of get an up to date from there. So yeah, passion.
Yeah, so right, so this happens in music too. There's a lot of bands and records that are out of print, very rare, and people don't know about it. And there's people who use that music on their podcasts or their on some kind of broadcast, and they're actually doing a favor to the estate
Yeah,
because no one's ever heard of it, and so there is this give and take. The other thing is, get permission, right? If it's findable, right? Who is the estate? If you can locate an heir or the lawyer or the legal representative, like the executor, they call it, you can very often get permission. They're like, yeah, we don't care. We're not enforcing copyright, or yeah, you look like a pretty good outfit. This, yeah, as long as it's something high quality, we give permission. Here it is in writing. So those things are possible. It sounds like with these guys, they made a deal with Warren to use Vampirella and Pantha and some of these other characters.
who's
So that's a
Panther?
little
I don't
different,
remember
and there
Panther.
might be
Can you show me? Can you show me? Where, she's a
Pantha
Warren
was
character?
uh yeah, Pantha was a Frazetta painting, um,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know that, but they
but they
turned her.
made her,
What is
and
that?
then
She's got a gun.
well, yeah, they made her into like a mercenary here, but in Warren Comics there was like one or two stories that made the character come from a Frazetta painting come alive inside the book, with a different artist, and so they called that Panther. And so it was not extensively used back in the day, but there too, it's even like what the characters were back then compared to what they could be. Like, I don't know who this demonic chick is right here, but she looks interesting. Um, and I think you probably have to read the liner notes of some of these comics to get the full story, so they can say, how they got the rights and where they're coming from.
Cherry
Um,
Blackbird. Wow, that looks interesting.
Cherry
That looks really
Blackbird,
cool.
yeah, I picked up three issues
How
of
old
this
is
for a
that
buck a
book?
piece. I don't know because they're all poly
Oh,
sealed, and I haven't popped them open yet, so we're gonna
oh.
have to stay
Oh, you
tuned
want
for
to
that.
do
But the
a
guy that,
reveal?
well,
No, not
you
right
want to see?
now. No,
Okay,
no, 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 no,
the
no, no,
guy,
no. I'm saying not right now. I'm just saying do a breakout video.
sure, well, yeah. It depends. I don't know how good or bad these
Wow,
are
they
on the
look pretty
inside,
cool though. I
but
mean,
yeah, the vendor told me this is all a rock and
wow.
roll idea,
Okay,
and that the creator is a local dude
yeah,
from Boston, who made this up. His name is Joseph Schmalke, and Cherry Blackbird is the fictional rock and roll character. And it looks like she's into a little gore. She's got like a nail gun here, and there's some splatter. Here, there's some demonic imagery, right? And there's some more guitars. I guess that's her
yeah.
rhythm player. Or, yeah, and here she is just looking badass,
Cool.
So this is more to come on that. Here you can see this was $10 for giant size defenders number one. I'm doing the thing with the defenders where I'm going back You know that Defenders, before they even had their own comic, was in Marvel Feature, and here's one of those Marvel Feature number 3. I was able to pick up, and I got a package deal, so I didn't quite pay $10, but I got Giant Size Defenders 1, Marvel Feature number 3, which predates all that. There's a beautiful Gil Kane cover. Um, here's Defender Giant Size Defenders 2, Giant Size Defenders 4. I couldn't get number 3. These are all Gil Kane covers, and 5. And these giant size comics are great because not only is it like 35 pages of story, but there's also backup features inside, and so you get a lot for your money. Back then it was 50 cents. There's Guardians of the Galaxy. Here there's Yellow Jacket. So there was a lot of like special appearances. You got the Submariner, Son of Satan. Here you got the Silver Surfer, and all these things coming together. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the real early Defenders going, and see if I can use that as a template for a superhero team I'm trying to do as a writer. Here's a Werewolf Fanat I picked up for 50 cents. I thought it would be Mike Plug because the cover
Oh,
looked
cool.
Plugish, but the cover is actually Tom Sutton,
Love him.
and this is a name that I think was
Yeah.
involved in the Planet of the Apes magazine, right? Wasn't he? Yeah. So I looked at this same vendor who had some really good bargains. He had Planet of the Apes magazine for sale. He had 2 copies. Guess how much? 25
Oh,
bucks a piece.
that's pretty cheap.
25 bucks a piece?
Yeah.
I
They're
did
usually
not
about 30 to 40
I did not
I've
know that.
seen on yeah, yeah, yes. Gosh,
Well,
the first archive, I think right now I can only find it at I think it was somewhere around 75 bucks. And there's
uh,
not many of them.
I don't know why they're so collectible. I wish I didn't throw all mine out.
'Cause they're so goddamn cool.
Well, they're cool, but they were not that cool when they first came out. Um, So here's Blood is the Harvest. I picked this up because it looked like real indie-ish. It says all
Yeah,
vampire action
yeah.
but it's Eclipse FX. And this Mike Flint guy, or Flint, whatever his name is the cover artist. I don't think he's the inside artist, but he was known for Law Dog later on. He became pretty well known for like super detailed, like kind of like where's Waldo level of detail on his stuff. Here I picked up a beautiful Kirby reprint for 50 cents. Here I got some Archies from my
Yeah.
student.
Nice.
Yeah, these are only 50 cents a piece. My students cannot get enough of Archie.
I
So
can't
if you're
either.
a teacher, um, oh
I
really?
love
Is that
Archie.
a good?
Come on, man. Dan DiCarlo is the Walt Kelly of that kind of stuff. He just you just stare at a page for long enough, and you can learn some stuff about storytelling in very brief. I mean, it's great. And then he had a midnight career as a he did dirty comic strips for one shot panel for all the men's magazines in the 60s. So
Right.
he's
He was doing
ah
during like the torture
yeah,
era, right?
oh
He was
he
doing so.
just yeah, man, I love him.
So yeah, but
And
yeah,
I think
Dan
too, just to
DeCarlo
add
is a
this,
real
I
pro.
think Archie Comics got into Army rucksacks and ended up being left in Japan. And these are the origin comics for manga. Just saying.
Yeah. So here's this one looks a little bit more. No, this is 1995. Wow. So yeah, I'm not that into Archie, but you got to give credit for being so professional and
Yeah.
repeatable, right? If nothing else, like the repeatability. Um, here's some fan art. So they're publishing some submissions from little kids or people that send stuff in. And a lot of people don't know Archie Comics was based in Mamaroneck, New
Oh,
York,
really?
all this time. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what they're going through right now. but business wise. But I think they're, they hit a rough
They're
patch, and they
doing,
might be.
no, they're
I still
doing
might
very
be
well.
creating now. Now here I picked up for 50 cents because they seem like they're water damaged. I don't know if you can see, but
Xenozoic, yeah.
Xenozoic Tales, and this is by one of our
Mm.
faves, Mark Schultz. He is the closest thing to Frazetta, black and white interplay, like
Al Williams.
and you can see this
Yeah,
Al
Vixens,
Williamson,
right?
right? The detail here. Look at the hair. I mean, this guy was studying Frazetta and just came up with these characters. This is great stuff. Um, and I'm hoping, yeah. So I like this is just like real eye candy for me. But Xenozoic Tales number 4 and 5, and here we see the Cadillac and Dinosaurs characters before they had their own title, and going through all these adventures and just really great stuff. So I, I'm happy to get these. These are called reader copies because it's just there to gawk at, but they're not very valuable because they're damaged. This I got issue 1 and 2 of Varcel's Vixens. Never heard of this, but it looks like anthropomorphic. And I don't know. I took a shot on it because they're only $1. And Caliber used to be a pretty interesting indie publisher, but my guess is that the covers are 10 times better than the insides, and it's going to be very disappointing. So we'll refer back to that later. Now here is where I spent a little bit more. As you can see, I
Oh,
spent
look at you.
650 on this one. This now command who knew, but Kamandi number 32, which was
Yeah.
a little bit late in the Jack Kirby run. Who knew? But it was a giant size, and you had to cough up 50 cents back then if you were a collector. Usually it was only 25 cents. And here's another one that I needed
Oh,
because
good,
I did
good,
find
good.
my box of Commandees in the garage. And so I have the whole run all the way up to like I'm just missing like a couple in the late 20s and then one or two. So I got these two, so I plugged up these gaps. So I'm only missing like maybe six more of the Kirby era, or maybe only like three more of the Kirby era. And then I do collect after the Kirby era, but I don't really care that much about that. So I got these, and you can see I spent a little bit more on these, 650 for this, 450 for this. But check out what's next. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Bum, bum,
Holy
bum.
Grail, holy night.
Can you believe this? This was only
What
$14
is
and
wrong with
thirty
this world?
cents. It says fine condition. I I see a little bit of like a little bit of like rust on the spine and a little bit here, but I didn't open it up, but I can't believe this is only $14. So this is a double for me now because I have a copy of this in a frame. But this one now I can open up and look inside, so I'll reserve that for the next podcast. Um, Here is Mark Beecham comic. This I paid $2 for. Yellow was $2. It's Rose number 1, and Mark Beecham was the guy that ended up doing I think Ms. Mystic for was
Yeah.
it Pacific Comics with no with Continuity Comics, right? And he just has a way of doing just like really gorgeous women with they'll have this kind of like model body shape and everything. And so this is, I guess, a superhero. It's called Hero Graphics, is the name of the indie publisher. So it's going to be
That might be his
yeah.
it might be his imprint. He's a little bit still active on DeviantArt, and he kind of fell away from drawing comics, and then he was actually just using models and doing like kind of like fumetti comics, I think. So, and then got into some video, if I'm remembering correctly. And he might have even done like some music video direction or something like that. But
So
yeah, he's a
1992, very risque. Um,
nice,
but
very nice.
yeah, but really good. I guess artwork and line work. This is what I call very nice. Black and white balance, very black and white interplay. And it's not just sitting around talking. Here's a little action. You have to get to page 4 before we get a little
Is that
act.
before or after Penthouse Comics? Can you?
Probably before. Oh, probably well before. This is 1992, so that was.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because
So what did he
isn't
work?
Penthouse Comics like 94, 95?
I'm not sure. Did he go to work for them?
Yeah, yeah, he had
So
a
notice here, like here you got some mezzotints, and you really like considered black and white interplay, and then you get a couple pages in, and then it starts to get a little lazy, right? The backgrounds are all black. Here the backgrounds are there's no tints, there's no gray tones, there's no nothing, right? It's a lot less. So you could just tell, you could just see the energy going out here, from the artist. Like he's still doing these characters, but here it's to be continued. So this is only like what, 8 pager? One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pages, and not a lot of stamina here, right?
hmm.
And then you get into something else here. So now here's an ad for Wind Raven, which is a promo for, I guess, a character that may or may not have come out, um, by Martinez and Stormon under the Blue Comet imprint. Here's a brief history of Rose on the issue number 1, so he's already got a history. And then here's a backup feature, The Huntsman by who? Pencils, Pete McDonald. So this is just like, semi-pro stuff here, you know. And this is more than 11 pages. So who knew, if you're buying Rose comics, that you're mostly getting, what did I call this? Huntsman comics. and and then here in the back, some nice pinups. You got Tigress begins in October, and who knew if it actually began or not? I doubt it. It doesn't even say who the artist was. Oh, Abrams is the artist, and this looks like a Tigra
Yeah.
character. Um,
Who drew that? Who is
the
that?
She-Bat.
Is that a Beecham?
It it just says no, it just says Abrams.
Abrams.
Yeah,
Wow, that's really nice.
yeah, whoever that is. And yeah, well, he did a pinup, and he got put in the magazine, and so these are big dreams, right? Hero Graphics was an indie publisher that put this out, and they put out a bunch of other stuff. They put out all Beecham stuff, and I think they might have also had Jim Ballant on the team, on the staff. But these are other people that pitched characters that they put into advertisement form. Here's the She-Bat, Murcielaga, which is bat in Spanish, the She-Bat, coming in November. So they had a whole schedule here, and these might have come out. I just never heard of them or never saw them. And the big attraction for Hero Graphics was Flair, and I believe that was just Mark Beecham's other character, right? That actually put out like multiple issues. I have some flares in my collection. Maybe they put out 5 or 10 before they
Maybe he was doing
went
like
out.
a Continuity Studios, and
Um,
he was playing Neil Adams, and he had a couple of boys
oh, look,
ghosting for him.
yeah. So maybe I stand corrected, because here's the back issue department. So Captain Thunder and Blue Bolt was in was in. Oh, I guess this is like a subdivision of First Comics. So Captain Thunder and Blue Bolt was superhero stuff. Champions, and they had up to issue 10 here. And they're selling them back issues for $5. The Coming of Aphrodite, Eternity Smith, um, Flair was up to number 8 by now, and issue 1, 2, and 3 and 4 had sold out. Um, Yeah, and then you get to Icicle, right? I saw some Icicles yesterday, but they were too much money. Icicle looked like a pretty good female superhero, good girl comic. Lady Arcane 1 and 2, which I never saw before, and The Marksman, which was up to issue 5. And the Tigress had already put out issue 1 and 2 by the time this was out. So I don't know if this is a reprint. It could be that this was a reprint, or this could be that they were just promoting the Tigress while after she was already out. And here they have an ad. Find us in Up and Coming magazine. We got featured. So this is good indie stuff. I'm getting to the bottom of my pile here. Here's another piece
Yes.
from. Oh, I got Tigress. Oh, so I bought a Tigress, and here's Icicle. What she looked like. So they have their Good Girl line here, and this was Flare versus Tigress. And here's this Abrams guy, and Tigress appears to be of color, at least on the color. That's how they're coloring her in. And yeah, his art is not as good, I don't think. It's not terrible, but this doesn't seem cover worthy for me for most comics. And then you get inside, and here he is, Paul Abrams. And, I think he's doing a yeoman's job here, but, not the best I've ever seen. It looks like something happens here. You go only 4 pages in, and then somebody else takes over. And
Yeah, wow, that's really
this looks like
nice.
Kelly Jones.
I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
I don't
Yeah.
know if maybe Kelly Jones sat
Hmm.
in and did a page for him, right? Doesn't that look like Kelly Jones too?
Yeah, I agree.
Um, then and another half a page, and then you go back to Abrams. So they were patching this together. Um, and then yeah, he goes through. So this is end of chapter 1, 11 pages, right? And then you get chapter 2. He's at it again. And look, so this was really like a thinly veiled excuse to just make real skimpy costumed
It's
women.
like Femme Force.
Yes, it is like FemForce, but that's a different company. That was AC Comics, right? And
American comics.
so yeah, here's Flair and her compatriots who are literally wearing garters. And Flair,
Excuse
uh,
me.
no problem. Yeah, so Flair is here, chapter 2. So here's some value, right? Not too much ads. And then finally in chapter 3, we meet Tigress. And she doesn't look like she's of color in the insides. She looks like she's pretty white bread here. Um, but here she gets activated, and I don't know, all this mystical stuff is going on. To me, my eternal complaint is not enough action, a lot of standing around and posing and talking. Not that I'm reading the story, but here it goes to end chapter 3. So they get 3 chapters of yeah. So maybe there's like a nice 25 pages here of story, and then we get into the liner notes and then the promos. Lady Arcane, the League of Champions, um, Scott Clark and Steve Urchow. This is Tim Burgard, Lady Arcane, a name I don't know. And then here's our 1992 comic book reader survey. This is great to waste some space and try to get some names on a mailing list. And these guys were out of Long Beach, California. So they had 3 page survey here, and then they go to their back issues, which is the same as we saw last time. So maybe they just updated it a little bit. So there's Flair versus the Tigress first issue special. This was just looks like a one shot, and plenty of stuff in there. Here I picked up. I'm not very hopeful about what's inside here because the cover looks so bad.
Air
But this is
Cell.
She Devils on Wheels by Aircell, yes, and this was only $1, so I got that. And then for $1, my last piece here, I got B Movie Presents, which I probably shouldn't have even have bought. I took a shot on it, so let's take a look. I bought it because the back didn't seem as bad as the front. The front seems pretty bad, but um, The World of X-Ray, Crimson Tier, and then plus Captain Daring battles the Metal Men of Mars. So they had me there. Um, so we're gonna do a just a pop open and a flip, and then we can go back to normal. But this was my take from the Comic Con, and highlighted by Kamandi #1 for $14. So there still are some bargains out there, folks. B Movie Comics I've never heard of. This was put out in 1986. B Movie Comics out of South Bend, Indiana. So I guess this is Pete Buttigieg's town. Um, and it shows, look, distributors, alternate realities, Capital City, Cap City Distribution, Diamond, Glenwood, Cavco, Multibook Inc., Second Genesis, Friendly Frank, Bud Plant, Crown, Sunrise, Superhero, Styx, and Andromeda from Canada. So those are some names of distributors that used to be a thing. Some of these are just glorified comic stores. But yeah, distribution used to be a thing. And here's a little bit of the art. And what do we got? We got, a little sci-fi here. Some hand lettering. I think the lettering is a weakness here. There's a lot of lettering here, a lot to read here with not a lot of action. I just see heads. I just see standing around and heads and talking. So you're losing me here, losing me very quick. And then now we're seeing some action, but look, all the action is just like packed into this one page. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9 panels on a page. This is what not to do unless you're doing a grand design book, like what's his name, Jim Rugg or whatever. Um, Way too much small panels, and these are your more actiony sequences. Here's a fight scene. Okay, so we're getting into it a little bit. And look at this. You're getting it like into thumbnails here.
Wow.
What the
Wow,
hell?
that's a shame.
So here is a big rookie mistake here, right? You're starting out with
Wow.
3 panels on a page, right? And then really small panels. And this guy should have just made this comic like 5 more pages. That's what he should have done. And he's packing everything in, and it all ends right here. And to get it all in, he had to squinch it all in on the last page, and it shows. Here's his biggest action sequence. It's not even a third of a page. A guy getting, plunged headlong into a wall. So, points for, creativity and putting out your own stuff. But, a couple I think, things that detract. And then here's Captain Daring. And so I'm just going to just plug this guy's name
So is
if
there a
I can.
writer? Is it a writer and a penciler? Or is it a one-man show?
It says, Ken Holszyniewski. This is a really tough Polish name. And then you go to, I'm looking for credits here, and it says part one by Mark Panacea, and you don't get the sense that that there's a division of labor.
No?
Um,
Hmm.
no, so it looks like Holszyniewski is credited here on the cover, maybe as an inker, but yeah, no, they didn't clarify very well. And here's Captain Daring and the Metal Men of Mars. This looks kind of like a throwback, kind of like a Flash Gordon thing. These robots are really clunky. Come on, by 1986,
It's B movie though. It's a B movie comic book. So let them
right,
have their 1950s version of the horror horrific. Yeah, those things were
yeah.
scary,
So
man.
that this is basically like a Flash Gordon, but a little bit of clunky art, a little bit of tin can robots, very short stories. And here is a plug for Pyramid Comics Barbaric Tales. Now we're talking. Look at
Yeah,
those
that's great.
outfits.
That's
This
great.
is
I have
another,
that book.
and so this is by Mark
Yeah,
Panacea, whatever, 86. And yeah, I saw this for
it's
sale
hot.
yesterday. But so this is just a second backup he did on the cheap. And here's B movies. Rick Obadiah from First Comics, Mark Lamport. So this is what you do when you're putting out your first comic. You get other creators to send you like a little blurb or a little a little I guess complimentary. Oh no, he's got 4 pages. He's got multiple pages of it. And here you can see pictures of the mullets
Nice.
and everything of the
Nice.
guys here doing some Michigan Comic Cons. And here's the another survey. So this was a trick again. And then yeah, so this was B Movie Comics. That didn't last very long, but they had some interesting ideas. And then they're putting in ads for First Comics here. And here's Michael Moorcock to Elric of Melnibone, right? Uh, Roy, Roy Thomas, P. Craig Russell, and Michael Gilbert coming in May. So that was my haul, and I just wanted to share. The artist tables at the that Comic Con were $130. So had I known, I would have gotten an artist table and maybe just hung out for a day. I don't know. It's $130 for 2 days, but I don't know. That's 2 days of your life. So maybe if the first day is good, you go back the second day. But um, there was people there drawing. And there was all kinds of stuff going on. Like I said, the cosplay was really big, but it's Poughkeepsie, New York, so you had like some people set up
Jeez.
like tattoo booths and everything, and a lot of toys for sale, and a lot of local flavor. So, the promoter said that his bigger annual Comic Con is in Saratoga, New York, and that's coming up in, I think he said November. And he invited me to get an artist table there. So if I did something like that, I don't know. I would have to. It's Saratoga's pretty far. And I don't know if I'm gonna be doing all that. But definitely when we have our comic out, we'll be doing stuff like that. And just to promote it, get it out there, get into the hands of some dealers, do a couple giveaways, and then you know, maybe you could also do like a live stream, I guess, if you can get a signal out of there. You could do a live stream.
That's tough.
Yeah,
That's tough.
right.
All right, we're coming on the 45-minute mark.
All right, so yeah, that's
So this video is going to be titled Jake's Comic Haul, which, by the way, those were some fantastic titles. I'm gonna dig through my little box and see if I still have some of that kind of stuff.
yeah, I feel like I made out all right. The funny thing was when I was leaving the house yesterday, I was like, oh boy, I'm gonna be, going out to Poughkeepsie. It's like an hour and a half away, and from where I live, and I said, well, let me go get some of my comic so I could bring some stock up there and I could sell it. And then I'm looking for my comic, in the garage, and I come across 3 boxes of comics where I didn't remember or know that existed or anything. And I was like, wow. And I just like open the top and look in them, and I'm like, wow, I could just spend all day just reading my own comics that I have and I forgot about, instead of going up and getting a whole box of new comics, or a whole bag of new comics. But I went and did it. I wanted to get out of the house, so there's that. But if you have old comics, you can just you know entertain yourself and just pull them out and read them, and look at the art. For me, it's always like about what can I swipe. And can I get some inspiration, or can I steal some ideas, or some there's a background I want to use, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But how ironic, like I didn't even have to leave the house if I didn't want to. I could have just spent 4 hours just going through the comics that I already have. So in a future episode, we're going to do some crate digging, here in the house and your place, and what do we still have, because I haven't looked at these comics in 20-25 years, and I don't know what's in there, but we'll figure it out together.
Awesome. Well, another episode. If you made it this far, we're calling you a turbo knot, and thank you for staying with us. And once again, down below in the comments, tell us what you're thinking and feeling. Also, any black and white books from the 80s, early 90s, we're always looking to lean into and discover if we hadn't already discovered them. I think one of the things we're going to end up falling into, Jake, is repurchasing mode, because I think that's still one of the best things about comic book shows. Decent sized comic book shows are the vendors that just have the 50 cent and dollar books, and you just go in there and just start flipping through stuff, and you know, come home with a box of
Yeah,
books.
but what happens is when I see those old Defenders,
Yeah,
and I had them all, is that they just, when you see something you recognize, it
yeah,
just triggers your memory, and then you start to remember like a little bit of what's inside and the story and the art, and then you remember like
yeah,
your childhood, and you just
yeah.
get these flood of memories. And that's why comics are so popular,
Feel
because it's
good.
all about nostalgia, and it goes back
Yeah,
hundreds, over a
yeah,
hundred years. People saying the same thing about the Silver
yeah.
Age and the Golden Age and all that.
Cool. Well,
So,
I'll see you next week, Jake.
right on, man.